And we are recording. Welcome everybody to Zeswitz Presents Breathe New Life into Your Music Programs with Dr. Matthew Arau. We're going to actually start with Randy Shaler, CEO and owner of Zeswitz Music. Randy, why don't you give us an introduction this morning?
Thank you so much, Keith. I am so glad to be here with all of you tonight, and this is such a great opportunity to catch a breath and reinvigorate and hopefully share some of Matthew Arau's wonderful infectious energy with all of you. As TK said just a few minutes ago, we are so inspired by what we saw among our clients in what couldn't have been a tougher year for your programs. It is unbelievable what you have been able to achieve. And you're coming here to us tonight with a tremendous buildup of hopefully a combination of pride and confidence in your ability to continue the great work that you've been doing and rebuild your program. What I want to acknowledge, though, the elephant in the room, and that is that you're probably also coming to us tonight with maybe some anxiety about all of in burnout about all of the challenges that you faced this year. And I hope that in Matthew's presentation, you find some nugget, some thing to glean from that that you can take back that can reinvigorate your energy. But I also know that you're all looking forward to the summer as a way to reinvigorate your energy as well. But know that we at Zeswitz admire so much what you all have achieved. And it is our great pleasure to have assisted you, many of you, in that process in your school districts. And by the way, let me acknowledge that joining us tonight, we have reached an international audience because we have actually a client, or not a client, I would love to say a client once we go global here at Zeswitz, but a participant tonight from Bangalore, India. So I'd like to welcome Shimre from Bangalore, India, who's with an elementary school there in that region in Karnataka, in a region of Bangalore, India. So we've gone global, folks, which I think is really terrific. And Matthew, we are so happy to share this global stage with you. I also want to highlight and congratulate our Best Communities for Music Education Award winners. There are many to congratulate on that list. Each of you have achieved some really distinguished and tremendous things with your program. And remember, this is the pandemic edition of the Best Communities for Music Education. With us on the call tonight, we want to recognize Downingtown Area School District, East Stroudsburg, Manheim Central School District, North Penn, Parkland, Pocono Mountain, Pottsgrove, and Springford Area School District. I couldn't even say that all with one breath because you're all so successful. But again, I want to emphasize that every single one of you is successful on this phone call tonight and how much we at Zeswitz, and I know on behalf of Matthew Arau, how much we admire what you've achieved. We're talking about a time when rehearsals went from looking like this and performances like this to looking like this. And when professional development went from looking like this, there's Frank Troika, and if you squint real hard, you can see Nola Jones and Dr. Tim over on the right side of your screen. And here's Dr. Tim holding hands with somebody who's sitting next to somebody else in the same room and nobody's wearing a mask. And this photo looked jarring when I looked it up on my archive, just how odd that looks to us now. Professional development now looks like this, and not to pick on Keith, but we're rolling with it. And so are you, and you've done a tremendous job. And again, we just couldn't admire more what you've achieved for your students. And let's think about those students for a second, as I know Matthew will encourage us to do. This is a profile, a screenshot from a profile of a student named Victoria. Her middle school shut down last spring and then reopened in the fall. She turned to social media for solace and to stave off boredom. She gave herself makeovers, posted the results on TikTok. Sound like I'm not a millennial. Anyway, added a pink streak to her hair, pierced her ears with a safety pin. As the months piled up, she found it hard to stay motivated and to do her schoolwork. She's quoted in the article as saying, "Every day is the exact same. You kind of feel like, what's the point?" The point is, school should be fun. And as we think about the recovery, I encourage all of us on this call to think about what an important role music plays in the lives of the students that are in your programs, and the lives of the students who we serve with rentals, but you serve much more so with education, with a community, with an opportunity for them to be themselves. The crisis has hit children on so many fronts. from socially, family stress, breakdown of routine, anxiety, learning interruptions. Parents have had job and income losses, financial strains on families. Thousands of children across the country have lost a parent or grandparent to the pandemic. And the school music program has such a tremendous need right now for recovery, but also has such a tremendous opportunity to reach those students and to make a meaningful impact on their return to campus. And so my charge to you tonight is to get everything you can out of this presentation from Dr. Arau, to be inspired and to carry that inspiration back with you to your music programs, because never has there been a more important time for you to be inspired. And also never has there been a more important time for you to be supported. And so we'll conclude the call tonight with a couple of things that Zeswitz is working on to support our clients during this difficult time. Some meaningful ways that we can help you make the most of your program's recovery from the pandemic and set you up for a very successful future for your program, because we know these next 12 months will be critical for you, for your program, and for the students that you serve. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it back over to Keith to introduce our distinguished speaker for tonight. Keith, thank you very much for organizing. I'm so proud on behalf of all of Zeswitz for what you've done for our professional development, and the content that you've put together. Bringing Matthew to us tonight is just absolutely fantastic, Keith. So way to go. And with that, I'll let you introduce our distinguished speaker.
Thanks, Randy. And your words are wonderful. What a great opening. So it's a really pleasure to introduce my dear friend, Dr. Matthew Arau. Dr. Matthew Arau is founder of Upbeat Global and is the chair of the music education program and associate director of bands at the Lawrence University Conservatory of Music in Appleton, Wisconsin. In addition, Dr. Arau is on the graduate faculty of the American Band College of Central Washington University and Vandercook College of Music. He also serves as a consumer educational clinician and as a member at large on the NAFME Council for Band Education. Dr. Arau has guest conducted and presented on student leadership, mindfulness, growth mindset, rehearsal techniques, and creating positive cultures in over 25 states and 4 continents. He has presented at the International Midwest Band and Orchestra Clinic, the Western International Band Clinic, the NAFME National Conference, numerous state and regional music education association conferences, and the Consumer Institute. He has conducted honor bands in Australia, Greece, Cyprus, and Malaysia, and all-state honor bands across the United States. For more information and resources on Dr. Arau can be found at upbeatglobal.com. So please give a nice warm Zeswitz welcome to Dr. Arau.
All right. Hey, thank you so much, Keith. Thank you so much, Randy. And thank you so much, Tom Kelly or TK for all that you do for the music educators. And just a big voice of gratitude for you for spending the time tonight. I know everybody's zoomed out, and so I know it takes a special commitment to be here live. I know many will be watching the replay, so hello to you in the future. And when Keith invited me to speak, we chatted about, hey, you know, how could I be the most helpful? How could I provide the most value? And we actually toyed around with different titles, which is fun. We passed some titles back and forth, and we settled on this one, which we're pretty excited about, this idea of breathing new life into your music programs, because I think this is really what we all want to do. You know, we've all been through such challenges, and I always like to just take like a breath and like just breathe and reflect for a moment. Just wherever you are, just breathe in your nose slowly and then exhale out your mouth longer than you inhale. And as you're doing that, just take a moment to reflect, because I know music educators, we're do, go, deadline, figure it out. The plans change, flexible, adaptable, and we rarely have an opportunity to just like take a moment, but that's what we're going to do now, is to take a moment and go back to maybe mid-March 2020. And Randy did such a great job of reminding us of, you know, what it used to look like and what we look like and what it looks like now. But I think there's a lot to actually celebrate in the past year of what music educators, what you have accomplished, what you've been able to achieve amidst everything working against us. and the creativity that you've had to have, the way that you found ways to connect with your students. I know when this all started, that for me, and I'm sure for you, one of the things that I thought about first was, oh my gosh, how are we going to stay connected to our students? How can we let them know that we care and value them when we can't see them physically? And music educators such as yourselves across the country went beyond belief, went the extra mile to make sure that your students knew that you cared. And even when they didn't turn their videos on, you didn't give up on them. And some of the most heartwarming stories that I've heard from educators are those moments when maybe class ended and a student who maybe had their video off the whole class waited until students left virtually, and they stuck around and they just said, how are you? How are you hanging in there? Or even a student just to stick around and say, thank you. I appreciate what you're doing. I know it's tough. Just those little things along the way have been so incredible. But you had to learn new ways to teach music, didn't you? And sometimes you felt like you weren't even teaching music. You thought like, what am I doing? And I think many of us, we had identity crises. Like our jobs in many ways have defined us. And those of us, that were used to being in competitive programs, sometimes like being in those competitions became part of who we were. And now all of a sudden that was taken away. Or the concerts, the goal to aim for, and those were in many cases taken away. But you found ways to persevere and continue, which is so incredible. So tonight we're going to share some ideas on how we can breathe new life into our programs. And we're going to share ideas about mindfulness, mindset, and student empowerment. And I think of those three ideas as pathways to improve recruitment and retention. But I want to share that this is really about you. Okay. All of these things are going to help your students, and that's important. But I found that in order to be selfless and serve others, we need to restore ourselves. And when we can really get ourselves in that place of, our energetic level where we can be recharged, be restored, be revived, be rejuvenated, then we're going to attract people into our program to come back. Because I don't know about you, but have you sometimes felt just seriously exhausted with all of the changes, even mentally? Remember, the brain is a muscle. So even like your brain has been super, exerted over this time. And so we're going to share some concepts and ideas that will actually, for all of us, help us to move forward. And I love this analogy. I think that so often we spend time tuning our ensembles, and we focus on intonation and chords and getting that major third lowered 14 cents and all those things to lead to a stellar performance. But the most important instrument is you, your mind, body, and spirit. And we need to focus on that. And so I'm saying it's okay. I want to share also that I think as music teachers, we definitely put ourselves last. Raise your hand if you relate to that. Like maybe you're like the last person you think of. Maybe on like for an hour on the weekend, you're like, okay. But the rest of the time, you're like, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? Right? I get it. So I'm here to give us all permission to say that we need to find ways to fine tune ourselves in order for us to be able to serve our students, which is part of the whole cycle. So those of you that have seen me present before, the upbeat is really, really important to me. In fact, it's so important. It's the name of my company, right? Upbeat Global. And I actually trademarked the word upbeat. So it really means a lot to me. But why does it mean so much to me? It's not just that I'm obsessed with and beats in music, right? Syncopation. It's like, I don't only play music that's syncopated. But for me, also the word upbeat has the meaning, of a positive, uplifting person. I had somebody in my life that was that for me. It was a school counselor, actually, when I was a middle school band director in Colorado. He was the type of person you see in the hallway, and no matter what, he was like, "Hey, Matthew, how is it going?" And I just had, at the time, I was just like so laser focused, like running up to make a coffee, or no copyright laws were violated, but I was going up to make a coffee. And sometimes I would see him and he would stop me in my tracks. And I was just like very goal focused, but he would just stop. "How's it going, Matthew?" The huge smile. And you think about the counselor, what they were dealing with during the school day, right? You know, lots of challenges, but yet he found that time to stop and smile. So for me, he was like the upbeat person in my life that I always think about. His name's Tom Kowalski. So what I mean by choose your upbeat, it's related to conducting. And so let's go ahead and conduct a little bit. Why not? Let's move a little bit. You don't get to move on Zoom calls that often. So Keith is stretching, get those conducting muscles going. Yes. All right. So we're just going to conduct together. And why don't we just sing this note? Da. Sing it heartily in your room, wherever you are, in your car, right? So we're singing da. And so we're just going to conduct together, maybe a mezzo forte, just a kind of a generic, kind of just simple sound. It's just going to sound like this. Da. All right, now let's go ahead and just do a piano upbeat. So a little lighter. Here we go. Awesome. Now let's just do a really big marcato splash. Boom! It's like, you know, like the big Mahler symphony climax that you always wanted to conduct or something. Okay, so here we go. Ready? Da! Big release. Yeah. You know what I love about the virtual space? There's, you know, you can do anything you want. You can become Gustavo Dudamel or Alondra de la Parra right on the screen, because why not? It's virtual. Now, the metaphor is that as conductors, we have to visualize and see the image or hear the music in our mind, right? Before we start conducting. And so think of the upbeat as like the prep beat to the first beat of the piece, for example. And we need to hear it. And that comes from study and imagery and creativity. And the upbeat precedes the downbeat, but all the information for the downbeat is in the upbeat, isn't it? And the upbeat affects the downbeat. And that's what's so important. The upbeat affects the downbeat. And what I learned from a conductor who was the former conductor of the New York Philharmonic Orchestra, his name's Alan Gilbert. He wrote in an article about conducting, he said, the upbeat is the preparation for any event. And that's what got me thinking. If the upbeat is the preparation for any event, then it's not just reserved for conducting. It's for anything. Like in football, the throw is the upbeat, the catch is the downbeat. In basketball, the shot is the upbeat, the swish is the downbeat. In track and field, the handoff of the baton is the upbeat, the catch is the downbeat. The way the band, the orchestra, the choir take the stage is the upbeat to the performance. The way the marching band lines up on the back of the football field is the upbeat to their performance. Our attitude when we enter the Zoom space, Google Meet space, or the live classroom, our attitude is the upbeat to how the rehearsal goes. In fact, to go even further, what we think about first things in the morning when we wake up is truly our upbeat to the day. We're going to talk about that later today. But that's what I mean by choose our upbeat. Just as a conductor, how you can choose the style of your upbeat, we actually can choose our upbeat in life. See, our thoughts are the upbeats to our actions. All action is preceded by thought, and nobody else controls your thoughts, even though media tries to. But in the end, you need to take personal responsibility for your thoughts. And I think that's really, really powerful, because we can so often, point the finger, right? And this and this and this. But I want to share that. And I learned this from Viktor Frankl, right? A Man's Search for Meaning, right? The last human freedom is our ability to respond, to choose our response, right? And Viktor Frankl, survived the Holocaust, right? And when he wrote that. So we can choose how we respond. And I think that's a really, really powerful thing. By the way, you can teach this to your students, and they really respond to it as well. Of course, they always love to learn how to conduct. Next thing I want to talk about tonight is mindfulness, and how this can be really, really a wonderful thing for you and for your students. So oftentimes people think of mindfulness as meditation is like the primary aspect of mindfulness. And meditation is is an aspect of mindfulness that you can pursue, but it's not required. What it really means is to be aware, to be more aware, and particularly of the present moment. And when we're aware of the present, we actually, when we're aware of the present moment, we actually get more out of it. They say that when we're thinking about the past, we often can feel guilty. And if we're thinking about the future, we're often worrying about something that hasn't happened yet. So truly, the now, the present moment is really the only thing that matters in our life. And that's where we can actually, by heightening our senses, even find more joy in the moment. Now, how does this relate to music? If you can bring mindfulness into your rehearsals, and we're going to talk about how you can do that. If you can bring mindfulness into your rehearsals, then the students are listening at a deeper level, right? Because they're more in tune. Even you can online teach mindfulness to the students even when they get their instruments out. That idea of getting your instrument out of the case, you heighten your sense of touch, even the sense of smell, the sense of sound as you click the keys, and teach students that although they've done it thousands of times before, that they can start doing the same activities with what's called a beginner's mindset, and live in awe and live with curiosity, and think like, wow, this is still an incredible experience. And that's really one of the wonderful things about mindfulness, is that you start to get more out of the moment. So this is a program I've worked with in Indiana at Jeffersonville High School. And so I've introduced mindfulness to them over the past few years, but they actually hired a mindfulness coach. Isn't that cool? They have a mindfulness teacher, and this teacher has led them in qigong, which is a form of like moving meditation. And I just want to kind of show you a warm up that they did this fall. All right, so I want to share something pretty amazing about using mindfulness movement and mindful breathing in rehearsals. So the band director is really into data, right? So he's collecting data, and the students, he asked them questions about how they felt before the mindful practices and how they felt after, and not just after doing it for weeks, but after like actually one session of doing it. And raise your hand if some of your students have expressed that they've been anxious or stressed this year. Yeah. So this is amazing. So in this particular data set, surprisingly, only 45% of the students said they were experiencing anxiety prior to the mindfulness practice. After the mindfulness practice, 0% felt anxious. And he also asked them, like post-marching season, how many of them would want to continue with the mindfulness and qigong practices post-marching band, and 75% of the students said they wanted to continue with it. And so I think what you'll find is that students do really enjoy mindfulness and the breathing because of the impact it has on how they feel physically, which we're going to experience a little bit of that right now. So the breaths that I'm going to share tonight, you can use for yourself on a daily basis, and you will be really grateful, because it turns out that when we're stressed, our breathing is changed physiologically. When we're stressed or anxious or upset in any way, our breathing gets tight, shallow, constricted, right? But when we can get to that calm, serene place where we're grounded, where we can really be the best version of ourselves, where we can be creative solution finders that we want to be, and team players, our breathing slows down. So you can actually focus on your breathing rather than focus on changing your emotions. And by going through the process of changing your breathing, it shifts your emotions from stress to calm. The first one I almost accidentally created when I was a high school band director in Colorado. And I had been doing yoga a lot, and I loved the breathing effects on my own stress. And I decided I was going to bring in a breath that's not exactly a yoga breath, but this is what I introduced. And we had been using the breathing gym, created by Sam Palafian and Patrick Sheridan, which is great for tone quality. It's the one that goes like this. Right. And there's all these variations of it to build really big lung capacity to get great sounds. But this one I used at the beginning of rehearsal. I said, okay, everybody, let's breathe in our nose and out our nose for 4 counts and 4 counts. And we did it together. And afterwards, the students were like, oh my gosh, can we do that every day? So thus begun my foray into mindful breathing. And what we found is that the students were more focused than they'd ever been before. And so we would use this at concerts. And I quickly learned that you cannot talk when you're breathing through your nose. By the way, let's try this breath together. In your nose for 4, out your nose for 4. Here we go. And in and out. And in. Relax the shoulders and out. And in. Just listen to the room that you're in. I just noticed the hum of my computer in a way I hadn't before, right? And you might just notice like everything's kind of slowed down a little bit. Everything got a little more still. This is an incredible classroom management technique. You never need to ask your students to stop talking again. You just lead them through a focus breath. And they love the focus breath because it feels good, just like it felt good to you. And you're redirecting them into a place where you want them to be, which is focused and engaged and ready to go. You don't even need to go to the negative and use the word stop. See, the thing is the mind will always like focus on the verb and not the negative of. We only know positives in our mind. So that's why I say focus on what you want to create, what you want rather than what you don't want. The next breath is the Serenity breath. And we actually have a student who's going to teach us this tonight. It's in your nose for 4, hold for 7, out your mouth for 8. This is the most powerful stress reducing breath. You do it 4 times in a row in between classes or any time in your life that you're stressed, this will slow everything down in a good way. Triangle breath, amazing. In your nose for 3, hold for 3, out your mouth for 3. Wonderful breath if you have trouble sleeping. And I don't know any music educator that hasn't had trouble sleeping. So the box breath is super powerful. It's actually used by the Navy SEALs. It's actually who I learned this from, is Mark Devine, author of The Way of the SEAL. And very powerful focusing breath. And then the gratitude breath. I just love this one. And this is one that I use with my bands at Lawrence all the time. My aim as the Lawrence University Symphonic Band conductor is to create a culture of gratitude. And so we do this almost every day. The students beg me to do it. If I forget to do it, they can we do it? And then they're like, hey, Dr. Arau, can we do the focus breath before every piece on a concert? And I'm like, okay. And it's wonderful when the students start asking you, but let's try this one. So think of something you're grateful for, breathe that in for 4 counts, and then release all the stress out your mouth for 8 counts. So anything you're grateful for, it could be, family, pets, students, if I was Keith, it might be like one of the many awesome guitars in the room. So just focus on what you're grateful for. Here we go. And in, 2, 3, 4, and out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and in and out. And relax. Gratitude is one of the most powerful things. It was the first thing that was studied in the positive psychology movement at the University of Pennsylvania, where positive psychology was founded. And this is where they discovered that gratitude is like the magical thing in our mind. And mindfulness is really about becoming aware of, what we think, what we're thinking about. And it's not about trying to empty your mind of thoughts. That's sort of a misnomer. It's about becoming accepting of our thoughts and and allowing our thoughts to come and go. And this particularly happens when you're meditating. I think it's important to remember that mindfulness is about being non-judgmental. Isn't that interesting? Because when you take time to become aware of your thoughts, you might become critical. You might say, like, why am I thinking this? I wish I wasn't thinking this. Oh, I wish I would like focus on zenning out and just peaceful things, but you're thinking about like all the stuff you have to do, and that's okay. And as you attempt to maybe incorporate meditation into your life in the morning, maybe start with 5 minutes. Those first 5 minutes might be really, really challenging. Breathing slowly in your nose, out your mouth, because you might realize like, geez, my thoughts never stop. And that's totally normal. That's normal. The trick is to learn to become non-judgmental and to just witness your thoughts come and go, and then return to your breath. And so anyways, I have this really great video I want to share with you of a student. And by the way, I guess if you want to, this is like the most popular slide. So people always emailing me, can I get that slide? So if you want to do a screenshot like Keith already did, go for it. Okay. But the next slide is really cool because the band director at Jeffersonville, one of his recruiting things has been having his high school students connect to the middle school students. And because mindfulness has become so important to the high school, one of the things the high school students could choose for a recruitment activity was to make a video teaching one of the mindful breaths to the middle school students. And that's what you're going to see here.
Hello, my name is Kiana Kirchgessner. I play clarinet, and I'm excited to have this opportunity to be able to teach you about the Serenity breath breathing exercise. To do this breathing exercise, you breathe in through your nose for 4 counts, you hold your breath for 7 counts, and then you breathe out through your mouth for 8 counts. Try it with me. Breathe in. Hold your breath. And breathe out. This helps to ease anxiety and to help concentration. Thank you for watching.
Is that cool? Isn't that cool? So he sent me a few different videos, and it's just really neat to see the students try to teach it. So this morning I was journaling, and I was thinking about breathing and breathing together, and so I want to share this. When we breathe together, we come in together. Raise your hand as an ensemble director if you've ever said that to your students, like breathe together, come in together, right? It's like if there's an entrance that's not working, we say like breathe together, so we'll come in together. That's such an important thing. And I started thinking about the research on moving together. That's really exciting. So you can building community is really important to me, and building a sense of togetherness and ensemble is really important. Well, it turns out when we move together in groups, it actually creates this feeling of togetherness and closeness, and oxytocin is created. And when I read that research, it made me understand why marching band works great to build community, especially at the beginning of the school year. And I've also come to realize that not just moving, like marching, but actually breathing together with others builds community. And so since we're also talking about recruitment and retention, I want to share this idea. It's not only that when we breathe together, we come in together. It's also when we breathe together, we stay together. And this is, by the way, great for couples too. Like breathing together. If you have a significant other, the research shows not only breathing together, but if you, I'll share this with you, this could change your life, okay? With you and your significant other, and you can thank me later. Mindful hugs. Okay, I know that's awkward for like your students right now, but like you and your significant other, a mindful hug, what that means is you hold each other and you both breathe in slowly through your nose and out your mouth. And you do that 3 times, but you do it in sync. And if you are hugging each other for 20 seconds or longer, you will both benefit from splashes of every good chemical you can get. Oxytocin is like the togetherness. That's the one for closeness, right? So oxytocin, awesome. But you also get serotonin, dopamine, and endorphins from mindful hugs. Okay, my work here is done. See you later. All right. No, but I encourage you to give that one a try, because I'll tell you what, when we're in a better mood, our students are in a better mood. I think we all understand that. So we've talked about gratitude and the importance of this, but I really think you can intentionally work to create cultures of gratitude. And that's and the leader needs to take the lead, right? We need to begin by sharing what we're grateful for and recognizing gratitude, but giving opportunities for students to write what they're grateful for in the chat. Do that all the time. Just like, it's an amazing sharing of gratitude, and it lifts everybody's spirits. Having students thank each other, providing opportunities for that is really amazing. This is something I wanted to share with you because, again, how we feel is going to directly impact how our students feel. So what can we do during these challenging times? Now, of course, these are things that you can do during a pandemic, but keep doing them when there's not a pandemic too. Drink tons of water. The research is showing that we really need to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Deep breathing, read for growth and joy, mindful walks, spend time in nature, be in the now, meditation. Okay, there's 3 columns here, so I'm going to keep going. Affirmations. There's actually a ton of research on this, that when you speak out loud positive things about yourself, that your mind starts to, you start to like really go after the best part of yourselves. Keeping a gratitude journal, writing 3 things that you're grateful for every single day for 21 days will rewire your brain to start to notice more things that you're grateful for in your world. Okay, it actually starts to change your reality. Powerful. Exercise, nutrition, mental nutrition, I think is really key. And that's where this news and social media fast. I can't stress this enough. Don't look at your cell phone, even social media. Don't even look at anything, at least for the first hour. Because once you do that, you're letting other people into your brain. Like, keep that sacred for yourself in the morning. Set your intention for the difference you want to make. Love. Smile. Smiles are contagious. Laughter, so is that. Mindful hugs, we talked about that. Share appreciation. Silence. In our world in particular, we do not have a lot of silence, but really in modern society, we've lost silence. So find moments of repose in your life. We need that as a human being. Visualize. This is something I actually encourage you to do with your musicians, to visualize a performance. And then your brain doesn't understand the difference between actually doing and visualizing. This is why athletes visualize all the time. We can do this as musicians, visualize the piece, and it's as good as playing it. I know it's wild to say, but also visualize the future you want to create. And of course, music. Now it's ready, Keith. There you go. Okay, so that's all of them. All right. So choose your mindset. I know it's hard to believe, but even this woman, right? She could be like freaking out, but she's not. She's like, I'm going to conquer this mountain. And I feel like in many ways, this is what this year has been. We are going to conquer this mountain. And we are going to have the courage to be positive. I think it's easy to be negative. I don't know about you, but I feel like that's the popular thing. It's popular to be negative lately. And sometimes you might feel that positivity isn't very popular right now. You know, it's not the in crowd to be positive. But when you are positive, it shifts your mind. It actually ignites your prefrontal cortex and neocortex, which allows you to be more creative, to be a solution finder, to be a team player. Your immune system goes up. Your physical fitness goes up. You're smarter. Everything you want to be when you're positive. When you're negative, it takes you down in every other aspect, okay? So striving for this. Also, powerful things to teach your students. Every second, the human brain takes in 11 million bits of information. Okay, 11 million bits of information every second, but you are only conscious of 40 bits. Imagine if you could choose what you focus on. And that's what I want to share about Upbeat, is that we can choose. And that and focusing our thoughts on the positive matters when we discover that every day the average human thinks 50,000 to 60,000 different thoughts. But for most people, 95% of those thoughts are the same thoughts. they thought the day before and the day before and the day before that. Isn't that powerful? So choosing what we focus on does matter. That doesn't mean that you're going to ignore reality, right? We still need to be smart, but you can find the silver linings. And when you do, your students will as well. And I think of this idea of I call it the power of get. And for me, there's a story related to how I came up with this, but I'll just give you the short version, which is use the word get a lot more in your vocabulary. Words matter and changes us at a physiological cellular level. I've studied this stuff, okay? That when you use words like together, we, let's, us, that creates a sense of community. We actually create oxytocin just by the words we use. When we use words like yet, like the power of yet, Carol Dweck's growth mindset, that's a hopeful word. It's about the future, but the word get is about the present moment, which is what mindfulness is all about, to focus on what you're grateful for with enthusiasm and to treasure every moment. Like now, I treasure that I can drink clean, cool water that I just poured out of my tap an hour ago. When over 1 billion people on our planet don't even have access to clean water. And I think about that. And so I've tried to live with what I call the spirit of get, so that I think about it, even during a pandemic, of what I get to do, right? Supercharge your day. So I'm just going to share some really powerful things with you. And I feel like when you can supercharge your day, you can supercharge your band and orchestra as well. And it begins with how you wake up in the morning. When you wake up in the morning, I encourage you to start doing this tomorrow. Instead of thinking of waking up to your alarm clock, change the name. Words matter. Change the name to an opportunity clock. Tomorrow morning, test this out. And when it goes off in the morning, maybe make it a calmer sound from your phone, but call it an opportunity clock. And then focus on what gives you joy, gratitude, or comfort. And focus on that for 17 seconds. Because if you can focus on a thought for long enough, it becomes sticky. It becomes a sticky thought. And I want to compare this to Pandora or Spotify. Okay. When you put in music that you like, it starts to attract other music like it. Our thoughts are the same way. So if you focus on something that you're looking forward to that day, or something that brings you joy, and really zero in on that, it will start to attract other positive thoughts. And before you know it, you're at 68 seconds of positivity, and you've programmed your mind to be on an upward trajectory for the day. And that's how you can choose your upbeat. And I guarantee that your students will notice. They'll be like, what happened to you? And that will make an impact on them. Empower your own students to recruit. A friend of mine shared this with me, and I'm going to share just a little bit with you tonight.
I love the marching band because every single member here is super passionate with music and what we do with music. And that translates to a really fun time in the late summer and early fall.
Marching band combines three main aspects of life that I love: musicality, physicality, and also community.
You can really learn who you are and who you want to be in marching band, because there's always people to look up to and who you want to hold yourself to.
You can really improve yourself as a musician, and you get to meet so many other people who share the same love for musicianship and love for music that you do.
My favorite thing about band is our shared community formed around our love of music and our desire to succeed.
You should definitely join band if you're thinking about improving your college applications. Band definitely helps with that, and it helps even more if you decide to join leadership down the road.
I instantly felt like I was in a community of people that wanted to help me, that loved me, that supported me no matter what.
It really brings everyone together, and just the beauty of the sound that it can be made.
Everyone hits the last note in the closer, and there's just a surge of adrenaline pumping through you, and you know that all the hard work you put into the season has paid off.
Also, they create a sense.
Cool. Yeah. So that was actually made by one of the students from Decatur High School in Georgia. But I wanted to talk about how when you empower your students, that actually gives them a sense of ownership, right? And buy-in. Those students that are in the program, when you have them like, hey, can you tell other people why you love band or orchestra? It makes them love it even more, because they're putting their mindset on why do they love it. And I just think that that's so powerful for us to think about when you involve students in the process. So create community for recruitment and retention. Here's just some ideas I'm going to share. So older students share videos or messages with younger students about why they love band or orchestra. You invite younger students to an outdoor socially distanced music event. Program a concert together with the feeder school if you're able to. Some of my colleagues are doing that either outdoors or in a huge facility. Service project with the feeder program is really great. The same program in Indiana contacted the city and did a Earth Day city cleanup project, which is so cool. It was outdoors. The same band has yard signs for all band and orchestra students that says the name of the band. It says positivity is contagious. And they put the yard signs on the incoming students' lawns and every single member. So when you go through the town, there's band yard signs everywhere. It makes people that maybe aren't in the band want to join. Have music program t-shirts, and then ideas of creating mentors. And there's so many more ideas than this. And I know if we have some time tonight, we could even share even more beyond this together. Here's some other things that this program's doing. They created what's called postergrams, and they're sending this to middle school students. And they of course, here it shows one of their important values, which is band connects, and showing evidence of that. Another one is to, share your values with the younger students. And this is what they did. This is another postergram: be curious, stay adventurous. And then to share your culture. And one of their ideas is your voice matters. But I think for me, I think it's critical that we ask our students, what is our culture? What would you like it to be? Hey, we can start from scratch. We got a blank slate. We are rebuilding our music program. You get to be part of that. You're going to be a pioneer. I was saying, you're a trailblazer. That's what I've been telling students all year. Is like, you're a trailblazer. Nobody ever came before you, right? And now you get to decide where we're going to go. And so you flip it on its head. Instead of being like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's like, oh my God, you're so lucky. You get to have band on Zoom. Nobody's ever done that before. That's like landing on the moon and like figuring what to do. That's what you get to do. And I know maybe I'm stretching it a little bit, right? But we can find ways to, say like, hey, this is new, and I'm not counting on you. So in conclusion, I just want to, just think about our vision for the future. And yes, it's going to be, it's going to be a tough road. It's going to be a tough road, and we're not there. We're not there yet, right? We're not there yet. But the thing is, we are in this together, and we have the greatest profession on earth, and we've come together in ways that it blows my mind. I'm sure it blew your mind too, when we all came together in April 2020, and all those Facebook pages were created and people were sharing ideas. And I just thought it was amazing. I know band programs in really competitive states that the directors wouldn't even talk to each other. And then they were on the phone and getting together on Zoom and sharing ideas. And I think that's something we want to keep. The way we're getting webinars, the way Zeswitz is getting a webinar, in professional development, this is great. I mean, we're connecting, we have people registered from India tonight, and that's amazing. That's the kind of stuff we want to keep going. And I think that that's going to help us. A lot of people burn out, not just because, all the stuff that you all know about, but they also feel disconnected from the profession because they're on an island. But maybe through social media and the way we've connected on Zoom, perhaps we can keep people in the profession that way. And so, we are in this together. We need to look out for each other. And I think that's really, really important. I also think that the things we've learned in the past year, we're going to be able to keep with us and keep going. I mean, I would say how many of you created asynchronous lessons? Everybody raised their hand. I was like, don't you want to use those again? You poured your heart into those. Use them again. So you actually have more materials than you ever had before. And I think that's amazing. Of course, that's a testament to all of you for all of your incredible just perseverance and hard work. And so I just want to say thank you to all of you for being present, right? For being in the now, for coming to just find ways to breathe new life into your music program. I'd encourage you to check out my website, upbeatglobal.com, for a lot more resources, articles. There's my email, matthew@upbeatglobal.com. I welcome conversation. The Upbeat Leaders Facebook group is one of my Facebook groups. It's all positive all the time. Super uplifting. It's a culture of gratitude. Check it out. Also, we just created a new Facebook page, National Association for Music Education Council that's the longest name, for band education on Facebook. And So I'll share a couple links, but I also wanted to invite you, if mindfulness for music is something that is of interest to you, I would like to invite you to, if you have time in your schedule, to register for a course I teach, an online course this summer from June 7 to August 1st, Mindfulness for Music Educators. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Keith and Randy.
Thank you,
everybody.
Matthew. Thank you. Wonderful presentation. And I'm always inspired. And I've seen lots of bits of that many times. And I still can't get enough. So thanks for sharing it with us. So glad we're recording this and we can share it with all our clients. And so do we have any questions before we shoot it back over to Randy to close us out? Any questions for Matthew or comments for Matt?
I'll put in a plug for his class. I took it last summer and it was awesome. And I highly recommend. Like in the middle of 2020 of all that chaos, it was like absolutely the thing that I needed to start this year and not feel completely overwhelmed. So highly recommend the class.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
Question, like when you're counting for the breathing, is there like a metronomic equivalent of what is it, 60 or like, I know it might be weird, but
no, that's cool. I would go for 72 if you want to have. I think that's a pretty comfortable heartbeat, kind of calm heartbeat. But I think 60 to 72 is fine.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
But I should share, Sue, that I like to actually do like a rallentando on the last one. You kind of like sense the room.
Okay.
So you're getting a pattern, but then because ultimately it is nice to have the exhale longer than the inhale.
Okay.
So you can create that with like the last one. And it's almost like they're hypnotized, like in a zone. It's like 3, 4, you know. Okay. Because even in this group on Zoom, I think I finished and it was like people were pretty like centered, right?
Yeah. Pretty chilled.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But
elementary kids should be about 50, right? I mean, the high school, secondary level, 72, 80-ish, but.
That's good, TK. Absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, that band was killing the Channel 1 suite. I thought it was Blue Devil's soundtrack or something.
No, the tempo was too fast, way too fast, but it was good. Who was that? Was that Decatur?
It was, yeah. That was from 2017, I think. Yeah. Tyler Ehrlich is the new band director there. He started there this year. I always feel for the music teachers that moved schools and opened up a new program like during COVID. It's like, for many, they didn't even see their new students until like now in person.
So Matt, if we have new educators that are going to tap into our Zeswitz YouTube channel here, what guidance can you give them? Entering in COVID, it's not the norm, and how would you guide them the next level? I mean, you gave us some great tips, so thank you for that. But there's a lot of newbies out there that this is their first experience in teaching, like keep swinging the bat or what have you.
Right. And I'm as the chair of music at Lawrence, I supervise all the student teachers and prepare the next generation of teachers. And this year for student teachers, that especially the first semester, it was so emotional for them, just like it was for all the teachers, but like for these young 22-year-olds, they were many of them were really depressed during it because it wasn't what they had planned for, and it was hard to teach students who didn't turn their videos on and teach a private lesson to a blank screen. And so, I was right there with them. But I think it's really important as a profession that we do focus on self-care in ways that we never talked about as a profession. We used to make it, we would glorify whoever worked the most hours. And I'm as guilty of that as anybody. right? I was a powerhouse marching band director, and I had those days, 6:30 a.m. I'd get home at like 10 p.m. I mean, to get to school at 6:30 and get home at 10 p.m. And it was like, well, that's what you do to win a state championship, you know, those kinds of things. And I think that we need to move beyond that now and think about the humanity of ourselves and the humanity of our students. And I hope that we don't lose the lessons that we've learned during COVID. I hope that, you know, I hope that we just like jump back on the train at the same speed we were at before. I hope that we rethink some things, and particularly, you know, the self-care and maybe mindfulness is a pathway for us as music teachers, just to, even if that's some deep breathing in between classes, or a little bit of meditation, or you know, reading a book instead of watching Netflix, you know, like just taking care of our mind and body in new ways, I think is important. But for me, for young teachers, creating community with your students is key. I think when you come out of college, we all think about how we're gonna like create the next LA Philharmonic sound or something, but it's really like we're teaching human beings who need love, connection, and belonging, and we do too. And sometimes it takes a few years, if you stay in the profession, to realize that that's what it's really about, is creating community, and music is what bonds us together. But without the community, we're just a bunch of soloists and that aloneness. And there's been too much of aloneness and loneliness this past year. So I think that's why we need ensembles, and we need to celebrate that. So I think the students that are going to be coming into the profession this fall are going to find that more schools are opening up, and there's going to be a lot more face-to-face, or at least mask-to-mask, but they'll get to experience it in a way that I think that this last year had it really rough. But they did learn about resilience and perseverance, and we won't know all the lessons until a couple years, but I'll tell you what, every generation has had their own crisis and challenge, and some have been harder than others. But we think about our ancestors who lived through World War I, or fought in World War I, and World War II, and the Korean War, and the Vietnam War, and you know, I was a young teacher 9/11. I was in my 5th year teaching middle school band when 9/11 happened, and I think of 9/11 maybe as, you know, one of the things that we lived through, and I think that the pandemic is this crisis. And what do we learn from it? Do we choose to learn from it and grow, or do we wallow? And I think if we choose to grow and learn lessons from this, we're going to be better as a profession in the long run.
Carla, you had a question you want to ask?
Thank you, Matthew. This was wonderful.
Yeah.
I was just curious, what would mindfulness movement look like in the middle school band rehearsal?
Sure. Well, first of all, I would just begin with like simple breathing, right? I still think of like breathing as movement. What you saw that video was a qigong, and I'm actually not a qigong expert, so I would have to go like on YouTube to look at that. But I would incorporate a Tai Chi warm up, which I am more familiar with Tai Chi. And the Tai Chi warm up, by the way, is very similar to a conducting practice that we would all do. And so you can do this in and out. You lead with your wrist, right? All conductors have done these kinds of moves, right? And then you can go out, or in and out. Right, and so you could actually do this in a seated position, Carla, right? But if you wanted to get the students up, awesome. You know, with Tai Chi, we'd have our feet maybe a little bit more than shoulder width, keep the knees relaxed. And you could transfer this to the marching band. But that's what I would start with, is this. And since you'll have the video, you can kind of take a look at it. But I would do 4 counts each direction. So in, out, right? The expansion is in. And this is going to transfer, by the way, to breathing for playing their instruments, if you're a band director, right? So that can be really, really powerful.
Cool.
And it's so simple, right?
Thanks so much, Matthew. Randy, you want to close us out this evening?
I do. I want to start by expressing our wonderful gratitude to Dr. Arau and to Keith. Thank you for planning tonight. Then Dr. Arau, thank you for all the wonderful things you shared with us. You know, it's again, in terms of opportunity, you know, it's so wonderful to think about music as a venue for talking about things like mindfulness and love and passion and self-control and all these wonderful things. You know, as great as math class and science class and English language arts is, I don't think we ever talked about any of that stuff in those classes when I was coming up. And so I want to close tonight with the idea that now is a critical time. And I think that as we've talked about reframing, and as we take up Dr. Arau's charge to reframe things, think about how your students are depending on you and how your program is depending on you. And you can look upon that either as a challenge or as an opportunity. And we would encourage you to look upon it as an opportunity, but know that this is a critical time for all of us and that we're all in this together. And that certainly includes us at Zeswitz. We want to help you make school fun. We want to help you make school meaningful and obviously make school musical. So, but wait, there's more. I'm going to share with you a couple of quick ideas and resources that we have for you at Zeswitz and that we have for our clients. The first is virtual performances. If you're not familiar with our virtual performances, it's a playing opportunity for your students that they can take advantage of virtually. Building on that, and I'll ask Keith to touch on this just in just a second. We have a really exciting one coming up, which is the Honor Band and Honor Orchestra. That's an opportunity for a few of your most dedicated students or the students that you think need a little pick-me-up to take part in something really special with a couple of great conductors. So that's a resource to our clients. The next thing is, to the extent that there are limits on in-person recruiting, and we encourage you to take a look at our musicrecruitment.com site. If you haven't been to musicrecruitment.com, it's a great resource for your families to have kind of a one-stop shop experience where they can get to know the instruments, they can fill out your forms to join your programs, both band and orchestra. And then if they choose to work with us, to rent an instrument all in one session, which is really kind of a great convenience piece for families that are, you know, pulled in a bunch of different directions nowadays. I want to also touch on how important instrument reliability is. And as you know, we're really serious about instrument reliability. You've seen our report cards, and I have report cards even over my shoulder in this room in my home. Instrument reliability is absolutely critical at this time. One broken instrument equals 110 minutes of instructional time. And some of you have seen this, but it takes a couple of minutes to discover that an instrument's broken. If you've got 10 students in your class, that's the 2 minutes times the 10 students is 20 instructional minutes. And you got to examine the instrument and kind of figure out what's wrong with it. Maybe that's another 3 minutes times those 10 students. That's 30 instructional minutes. And then that one student who has the broken instrument misses the rest of that lesson, and then maybe another 30-minute lesson while they're waiting for a vendor to repair the instrument. That means every time an instrument breaks costs you 110 instructional minutes. And obviously, Zeswitz, we've got a solution for you in the form of on-site loaners and also really reliable musical instruments. As I said, we're really serious about instrument reliability. That becomes critical as you return to your classrooms and you start to think about maximizing those instructional minutes with your students. And lastly, I just want to touch on the importance of equity and the importance of access for all students. We talked about Victoria, that example from the Wall Street Journal at the beginning of the session. Giving all students the opportunity to benefit from the tremendous things that you can offer them in your band and orchestra programs. That means, especially in the wake of the pandemic, in the wake of the recession that's caused, thinking hard about how you can provide equity and access to all the students in your district, not just those who think that they can afford to rent a musical instrument. So for that, we're very, very excited to offer and continue to offer, as we have for many years now, but in a more focused way now, our scholarship program for students who are unable to afford their musical instruments. We don't think that the students' finances should be a barrier to their opportunity to join music education. So if students have a need, let us know. If you have a need in your classroom for things like recruitment support in the form of musicrecruitment.com for virtual concert support, where we offer you a turnkey solution for highly reliable instruments. If you're not already working with us, please do contact us. And if you are working with us, get excited. We're in this together. We are really focused on your success, and we are really grateful for you. We want you to be able to build your program back even better. As Dr. Arau said, let's look on this not upon the challenges, but upon the opportunities that face us over the next 12 months. And know, folks, that you are the heroes of your program's comeback. There is nothing more important than what you do for your students. And there has never been a more important time than now for music education in our schools. And so on behalf of all of us at Zeswitz Music, on behalf of Keith, and Tom Kelly, and the entire team, all of us at Zeswitz, we are so tremendously grateful for what you do. Thank you for all that you've done for this year. We're so proud to be able to share Dr. Arau's wonderful advice with you tonight. We hope that you take that back to your programs. And let's get revved up for a great year of restoration and recovery and growth for your music programs to benefit your students. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Keith. Thank you all very, very much for attending tonight, and best of luck.
Thanks, Randy. I put in the chat this PDF. I just want to, this went out today to all Zeswitz clients. We're going to do an honor band and an honor orchestra for grades 5 through 8. We're having directors nominate. We're going to guarantee to take everybody's first nominated student, and then we'll try to take as many as possible with a second, third, and fourth, depending on instrumentation and how the ensembles start to shape up. We have 2 great guests, not only conductors, but conductor composers. All right, Dr. Scott Watson at Parkland, and of course, Chris Bernatos, who is the editor for Alfred now, and the former high school band director in New Jersey. So Chris Bernatos will do the orchestra. He'll be doing his piece, Ablaze, and Scott will be doing his piece, Escape from Thunder Mountain. And we're planning to have this wrapped up by the end of June, and on June 30th, do a live stream YouTube premiere concert. So we're very excited about this, these virtual honors ensembles, and hope that you will participate as Zeswitz clients to nominate your students. I'm going to throw in the chat this Saturday, just a little self-plug, my community band is doing a virtual concert, live stream concert. And we've got all sections of our band, including a German band and a double piano quintet and a percussion ensemble, and of course the full wind ensemble. And you won't believe the brass ensemble doing Bohemian Rhapsody. It is unbelievable. So really some really great quality virtual ensembles, and you'll have a great time. That'll be at 8 o'clock on Saturday night. So check that out. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you for the opportunity. This is awesome.
Great. Thanks for joining us, Sue. Yeah, good night, everybody. Keep in touch. And good luck with the rest of your school year. Thanks, Matt. Great job.
I'll stick around for a second. Hey, Randy, I was so impressed with you and everything.
Hey, Matt, it's nice to meet you virtually. I'm a big fan of your work in many different ways, but it's nice to finally connect with you in person. This is great.
Oh, no, I was just Tom and Randy and Keith, just amazing what you guys are doing. And I could just tell like this comes from a real place of caring, and it's just so authentic. It's just awesome to know that you guys are running this music store. I just wish you all the best of luck with everything. It's just, I can tell that you care so much about music educators and their students.
Well, thank you. Us to you as well. And hey, we do a lot of this not virtual. We do a lot of this professional development stuff. So hopefully the next time we have you, it'll be in person. It'll be a lot more fun than just a Zoom. But that, Matthew, that was fabulous. You did such a wonderful job there. That blew me away. I mean, I don't know what I expected, but that was just fabulous. So very well done. Thank you for doing it with us. Let's do it again.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Randy, what kind of technology do you use to split your screen like that?
Oh, that is a really cool little thing that I have for my webcam. It's this Logitech webcam, and it came with this software called Logitech Capture. So it's a little bit more seamless than like going back and forth to a screen share.
You'll be charged for that, by the way.